Hey guys, big day for me. Looks like I'm going back to school. These guys think...
I love that movie.
You know.
Can you do the triple Lindy?
I need to learn something about social media, you know. But the topic is really, you know, how do we teach our kids about social media, right? So hit that subscribe, hit that like, and tell us what you think about that. So what's yours going to be about?
There's this app called ChatGPT, which is a bot-run language learning app that kids have been using to generate full like prompts and responses to different types of like English learning homework they have. And I mean, right before Christmas break, right, we're getting into this funny spot within learning technology and artificial intelligence, where it's actually able to like mimic human responses through language. And I think it's always been able to, like, computers were designed to accomplish a lot of like mathematic and scientific problems, right? But now that they've kind of gotten to this point where they can live within a human response like operating system, it presents this funny new thing where like we really see how behind like standards for educating we really are.
Do you mean as in humans or US?
Definitely the US, but I would say probably humans as well. I think, you know, other countries have probably done better at this, but I think it's still like there's still this opportunity to like make education work better. Well,
you know more about this than we do, but I mean, for the U.S. sake, I mean, we're at the bottom of every frickin' statistic you can possibly imagine when it comes to education, right?
Yeah.
So anything can help. But, you know, AI, Elon Musk has said many times, you know, he's super concerned about it because it can be a really cool tool, but it can overcome us too.
Well, and I think this particular bot program they created is like uniquely problematic in terms of how it can take the place of critical thinking and self-expression, particularly through like your language, right? And I think there are enough other inhibitors to interpersonal communication that have an effect on kids while they're growing up, that this being presented as a tool within education is like kind of compounding some of the social tendencies that hurt communication that we see in kids today. I think this compounds that in a way that isn't really beneficial.
It's basically just it's glorified cheating. It's you know, like,
because it can create.
But there's so many websites. My kids tell me about this all the time. They just like literally can go on there and fucking cheat their ass off.
Yeah.
Especially since COVID and a lot of things became, you know, remote and you do shit online.
Yeah.
You can very easily cheat on most of your shit.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's
and, you know, and that's always been around, but this is so much different than like CliffsNotes and stuff. And I think
it is different than CliffsNotes.
Right.
And, you know, you're not plagiarizing something. You're
you're using
you're
something to create
somebody
ideas.
Yes.
You're using a computer system to create ideas for you based off of a small suggestion.
Right. And you're not using your own, you know.
So on one hand, yeah, like kids are...
It's robbing them of the opportunity to learn anything.
Basically,
you know what I mean? They can get little tidbits.
You become brain lazy, man.
But I mean, a lot of things are also...
Deadpan.
And I figured you would have something to say on that.
A lot of things are just blatantly unnecessary that they're teaching, you know?
Like critical race theory?
No, like let's just take a step back from that, because we're just talking about how people express their ideas.
Right.
Right.
Like you can't even start to grapple with like representing histories for all people fully and completely if you can't say, this is what I think is important and I'm interested in learning about these aspects of it in a deeper level. You can't even start to approach real tough conversations where you grapple with your morals and the execution of them in a lot of different social settings if you don't even give yourself the chance to express yourself poorly and learn from it a few times.
Okay, I understand that, but is this more of brainwashing than anything else?
No, not at all.
Not at all?
No,
I don't even know how you got there from it, because it's just something that creates an easy out for kids not to do the work.
No, but what I mean by brainwashing is if it creates an easy out, like you're saying, you don't have to think for yourself. So it's thinking for you, correct?
Not quite, because it's
It's
not
putting the thoughts out there and guiding you down that path, right?
You provide like the prompt of topics.
Okay, give me an example.
What do you mean more by brainwashing? Because it's not supplying thoughts into your brain.
Right.
It's supplying words to be like made into a document or a page and then turned in, right?
That still could be brainwashing in my mind. I
Okay.
mean, you know what I'm saying? Because it's telling you what to think. Even though there's suggestions, but
Well, it's not really telling you what to think. It's just creating your responses to like homework for you.
right.
It's just giving you.
It's just a
It's a cheat
workaround.
code.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
it's a
Right.
fucking
No, I
cheat
get that.
code.
I get that. But isn't it going to? I mean,
It's just
tell me if
creating laziness. It's not teaching the kids that they're
That this
you
is
know,
what they need to think.
This
or
is what they
anything,
need. Yeah,
or
need
these
to
are your
say or
ideas.
do. It's just
Yeah.
teaching them how to.
Accomplish a task without working themselves.
They don't have
at
to
all.
actually put any work in. They're just fucking being lazy.
But you don't think
they don't have to actually learn the content. They just fucking.
Yeah, and so
Right.
here's where I would differentiate it from what we're trying to define as brainwashing. So brainwashing would be like if you have an audience that's actually subscribing to what you're telling them, right? And
one way of doing it.
content is being put out there.
Right.
In this example, I think what we're
We're not talking Jim Jones here. We're talking. You know.
Sure, even like a Mazda ad, whatever.
Right.
Yeah. In this example, I think what we're talking about is kids having an opportunity to normalize, one, not putting in efforts to express themselves and learn how to do it well and learn how to listen to others, because this is creating all the information just off of a basic response. So if they're not being involved in what they're putting out, why would they be an involved audience in what other kids have put out?
Sure. So we're just, basically dumbing down America even further.
Yes.
Yeah, we're further whittling away at like interpersonal communication standards that have already been made tough by screens and electronics.
Does that have an effect? This is probably jumping off the ship, but does that have an effect on social interaction also?
I think like
Social
that's exactly
interaction is
kind of what
fucked
I'm.
as it is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
people don't date like they once did. People don't hang out with their friends like they once did. People just sit at home and interact with their friends via a phone,
And that's why I think this is again like one of those ones where like if we follow this thread like so much longer, it's going to be that much more difficult for people to respect each other in person and find a way to like communicate at all.
So how do you come back? It sounds like we've already stepped off into the abyss.
What do we I don't know. What are the best solutions to encourage people, like, because I think there's got to be a way to recognize that kids today aren't going to be looking at work the same way.
They already don't.
They don't.
It's the work ethic is completely.
No, not even work ethic, but work options, right? They don't
Right.
have to go to an office and work. Like kids can already make more money on TikTok than your charger is worth in a year, right?
Right.
So why would they sit there and think, okay, I need to respond to these questions about Herman Melville's literature when I can actually just like watch a screen and post a couple emoji responses and then kind of make the same living that people would have to work a 25-year career for? I think there's got to be a way for like really education and social systems to find the middle ground between only existing and defining yourself online and really moving that personality into a physical space.
I mean, we could go down a very large rabbit hole with this. All of that creates emotional distress or disorders. Right. It's causing depression. It's causing anxiety. It's causing people to lose the ability to interact socially in person. It's changing people's work ethic. It's changing the way that they work. This is a whole nother universe, and this is going. We could go down this. I think we should probably try to minimize this a little bit because this can go very far.
Well, and there is something I want to add, because it also, the existence of that stuff, while it can be impersonal, it also can be hugely supportive, and people can find groups that they don't have access to. You can find friends and allies. Now, how do you encourage them to meet in person if that's what you want as well? That's like a tougher thing.
I think, like my son's school, they have like a lot of clubs and things like that now where they have to interact. They have meetings where they have to be present for, and
but schools
things
have
like
always
that
had
are
that.
important. But he's in college, you know what I mean? And these are things that are important. But the kids have created these types of scenarios.
Right.
This in public school or regular grade school, it's not something that the kids have any control over. That exists the same way.
Because we've already gotten 10 minutes out of just explaining this.
Right.
Yeah.
So I actually think there is definitely a topic.
Well, there's a topic
right in there already.
There's a topic, absolutely. But like I said, we can go down a rabbit hole, and honestly, this could go very extensive. And I'm trying to figure out where do we stop talking about it? Where do we minimize this conversation?
Well,
there's a lot to that.
Brandy, it's not one of those topics that you stop talking about because it's never ending, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. So, do we continue? Do we do some sort of several parter? Do we invite somebody in that's an expert in this field?
Well, I think we just discussed that it is a problem or can be a problem.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning of the conversation.
Now, I did want to hear from you about a couple of things, because you have kids in high school, and
one is in high school, the other is in college.
I would start by thinking that high school and middle school, especially as a part of a
middle school is the worst.
Middle school is the worst.
It's the devil. Absolutely
the worst. but really trying to bring kids back to being social after COVID. Sports I feel like are obviously the best way, but how also do you encourage clubs, and how do we pay for the damn thing too?
Right? Money's an issue. Activities are very fucking expensive, especially my son played lacrosse. That's a really expensive sport.
Yeah. What about things like broadcasting and journalism though, right? School newspapers and stuff like that.
Right.
I feel like with the way that sites like BuzzFeed, TikTok, Vice News,
Reddit,
Snapchat, any of those real proper companies that are working in this space where you push out ideas and information, I just think it would be cool to see them develop programs that teach kids how it's actually done there, because it's basically adults playing with programs doing kid jobs, right? We're seeing that kids can do the same thing.
Parents are putting their kids on YouTube, doing toy reviews, and these kids are fucking billionaires by the time they're 6.
Exactly.
So no, I'm not kidding.
I know you're not.
That's a fucking thing.
Yeah.
So
as Brandy said, that's a fucking thing.
It's a fucking thing. Okay. I don't know where I fucked up, man. I should have done that. I'm sorry,
well,
kids.
That's sort of thing
Mommy
too,
blew it. Okay.
Yeah.
I should have exploited you much longer. Much more ahead of time.
Well, and I think working with folks having folks who work in those fields work with educators as well to design some type of curriculum and space where that's at least spoken about in a way that they identify how to improve it, right?
You're saying that there should be that should be part of the curriculum, learning about social media?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that one.
Now when you say it like that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. And so I think building a solid core curriculum around social media would actually be really helpful to get kids to understand it even better than they do now, but especially the impacts of it, and also the economy that exists through it as well.
So everybody out there, if you're as lost as I am right now, hit that subscribe, hit that like.
Okay. And help us find a way out of this.
Help us figure this shit out, all right? Peace out.